Greetings, my fellow freedom lovers and sovereign thinkers. Thank you for tuning into the LL3 podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy mangroves of South Florida. And today's date is Monday, December 23rd, 2019. Yeah, looks like people are doing a last-minute rush for Christmas and all that. And Hanukkah, winter solstice happened yesterday, which is pretty cool. So, those holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah to all you folks out there. It's going to be pretty cool. And, hey, doesn't matter if you celebrate or not. It's a good day to just pay homage to the people that do. I always like to love and respect your neighbors as yourself. So, always keep that golden rule in mind. People get offended by it, but who the hell cares? People get mad about Merry Christmas offends me. You know what? Go back to your cave, far as I'm concerned. Terrible things are happening in Australia. Keeping track on that. Some of the waters, like in the West Wales, North Southern Wales area, been there's no water. The river's been dried out because of some big dam, and there's fire blazing on a lot whole areas and down under, according to naturalblaze.com, and summer started over there. So to my beautiful people down there, be safe, please. Just an example of what's going on. The chaos is happening globally. I can't even keep the damn track of it. Yes, and I had some good discussions with people on Facebook on some topics, which is good. I always enjoy it. It's never, sometimes we have our moments, including myself, but there's days you gotta get hey, you're better than that. Have a little chit chat on those areas, good discussions. You can learn from one another, and always appreciate that. There's people I know for years too, like 30 years, and we still chit chat, have discussions on those areas, and it's good. And so, try to be on the same page, have our different ideas. Doesn't say we're right or wrong. We always have to examine the bigger picture. All right, and of course, the treasonous institution, the Federal Reserve, got enacted. Federal Reserve Act of 1913 to people in the House of Representatives, and douchebag Woodrow Wilson, the racist pig that he was, signed it into law. However, he did address that was a big mistake he made. Should always never try not to choose poorly in these areas, my friends. The unconstitutional treasonous institution, the Federal Reserve. And of course, John F. Kennedy tried to obliterate them by signing Executive Order 11,110. And many people believe that's one of the reasons why he was assassinated. Bear that in mind. Crazy stuff. And of course, Nancy Pelosi trying to hold off on the articles of impeachment. I just gotta laugh. Like this woman's like in a Twilight Zone. Good grief. Bizarro's her Lord and Savior. And even some of the nut jobs in that party. You know me, I'm not crazy about either Democrat or Republicans, but they try to defend her too. Just give them a good smack upside the head and say, grow a pair. Bunch of cowards out there. Bunch of suck-ups. And of course, me, when I criticized Trump on Sunday's executive order, posted on Facebook, you got those Trump-loving trolls out there when I posted it with Chuck Baldwin. I'll try to defend, all the Trumpers were trying to defend, who's Chuck Baldwin? I'm like, hey, you know what? When you idolize a person and believe everything he did is well and good, then you're the fool. You're the one that support Jim Jones and Pol Pot. Alright? It happens to be Abominatoids too, so I don't want to hear this faction defense mechanized rhetoric. To me, it's invalid. When it comes to tyranny, I get them all. Regardless. And that executive order, like I said before, is invalid. If you don't like it, leave. Go somewhere else. You love Israel so much? Go there. Move there. A lot of people don't even know about the basic law. They don't even have a Bill of Rights. All you gotta do is look it up. So it's pretty quiet out here. people doing construction in my camper. Have a candle on with this Cabin Mist by Candlelight, based out of Longwood, Ohio. Pretty good stuff. It comes in a jar, light it up, and smells pretty cool, relaxing. So I like that. All right. Well, that's enough of the rant here. And let's see what we can do right now. Actually, I got a few here, which is awesome. This one came out from the Babaloo blog. I think they're based out of Miami, but they get the information from Cuba. It says here, report from Cuba. Executive Order 390/19. So 389/19. Big Brother is watching you in Cuba. What else is new? This came out today by Alberto de la Cruz. And as it reads, Cuban independent legal rights organization, Cuba elects rights in translating Cuba. So as you came from there. Tapping phone lines, using electronic devices to follow you around, planting cameras, monitoring mail and personal conversations, taking video recordings without permission. These have been Cuban's regime habitual practices. It sounds like J. Edgar Hoover and Fidel Castro were good friends, right? Up to now, it's all well done arbitrarily and illegally, but last month they approved the use of electronic surveillance without need for previous judicial authorization. They probably got language they got from the Patriot Act. Executive Order 389 of the Council of State, signed by the head of the state, Miguel Diaz-Canel, and published in the Extraordinary Official Gazette number 27 on November 18th, envisages its application and investigation into money laundering offenses and financing of terrorism in defense of national interests. That includes their own government. In the same way, the text indicates it may be employed to prevent the use of national territory for these ends. But in the Cuban context, it can be assumed that those effects will be members of the opposition or organization in civil society. CubaLex explains the implications of Executive Order 389/19 for Cuban citizens. Electronic and other types of surveillance versus the right of privacy and private life. The Order 389/19 modifies the law of penal procedure and authorities, legal investigation agencies, to use electronic and other types of surveillance with the prosecutor's approval. They are defined as use of media whose application enables listening to and recording voices, localizing and following around, placing cameras and shooting images, monitoring any type of communications, accessing computerized systems and other technical resources, which enables the identification and evidencing of criminal acts. An important element of this type of surveillance, which is not mentioned in the order, and has enabled the authorities to monitor a person's actions without their knowledge or consent. Tapping into kind of communications will give them the green light to use the monitoring software, otherwise known as spyware, which may be installed in any kind of computer, tablet, or smartphone to secretly monitor its use without the user knowing. The spyware will allow an abuser to have access to everything in the phone, as well as the inability to intercept calls and listen to them. Yeah, you can use a scanner. Therefore, the authorities could be able to access our social media or email. How would DL 389/19 affect our right to privacy and a private life? According to the United Nations Office Manual on Drugs and Special Investigations Methods, these should be authorized by a competent legal authority, carried out in the most discreet and confidential manner. Does the prosecutor have this jurisdictional authority? Internationally, public prosecutors are not considered to be officials exercising judicial functions. The correct operation of the judicial function requires that those exercising it be independent, objective, and impartial in relation to the matters they deal with. The impartiality required the district attorney's office derives from the legality of the tribunals and is independent of either the positions taken by the parties concerned or of the authority charged with instructing or undertaking judgment. The fact that the attorney's office prosecutes the action as a representative of the state and is part of the penal process makes clear that it's an appropriate institution to be given the ability to authorize particular investigation methods. These methods would be employed by the attorney prior to the oral hearing in the absence of any supervision or judicial control. The criminal investigations are presented to the judicial entity on the conclusion of the investigative process. This stage may be legally be delayed for up to 60 days, a term which may be drawn out by the attorney without limit as to time. The total absence of judicial supervision increases the amount of discretion available to the agents of the state during the preparatory stage of the case and permits arbitrariness in the use of those methods, especially in relation to the individual's privacy and private life, at a time when the strictest caution and discretion should be being exercised. Nor do we have effective legal appeals. The law of legal proceedings authorizes the presentation of complaints to the investigating judge in relation to his decision or in relation to those of the prosecutor, which may cause irreparable damage. The appeal is handled by the attorney or his supervisor in the event of the attorney having authored the decision in question. In the case of the special investigation methods, the attorney is both judge and jury. Additionally, his decision may not be subject to judicial review. One-man army, right? Judge Dredd of the attorney generals here. Sorry about that. Therefore, we can protect ourselves against. Therefore, how can we protect ourselves against abusive and arbitrary invasions of our privacy? The absence of judicial supervision and adequate legal appeal renders illusory the right recognized by Article 92 of the Constitution. It says here, quote, "The state guarantees in conformity with the law that the individual may enjoy access to judicial entities with the view to obtaining effective judicial protection of his rights and legitimate interest." DL 389-19 does not confer exceptional status on special methods and also permits them to be employed before the obtaining of the attorney's approval and to be included in the record of the preparatory stage after having obtained the evidentiary documentation on the alleged crime. Another aspect to the question is the legitimacy and validity of this executive order passed by 3.47% of the national deputies elected by the people. Its adoption violates basic principles of the substructure and operation of the domestic legal code. Without doubt, the Council of the State is exceeding its remit. It modifies laws passed by the National Assembly, supposedly superior body. DL 389-19 strengthens the domestic legal code or increases the discretion of the agents of the government to strengthen internal penal code in relation to which is an act in international treaties enforced in the country indicates the Council of State in Executive Order 389 to justify its adoption. Once it ratifies a treaty, the state is obliged to adopt legislative and other measures to guarantee its application in domestic law. I certainly recognize although not without some concern that the state attempts to juggle its own legislation with its international obligations. The problem arises on the adoption of a regulation which is incompatible with offer obligations derived from other treaties, undertaking and mandatory rules which admit of no conflicting agreements, such as Universal Declaration of Human Rights, or UDHR. Many people say that the UDHR does not have binding force because it was adopted by the General Assembly of the United Nations. Nowadays, no one argues against its obligatory nature and is widely accepted by the General Assembly and other human rights entities as a model against which to measure countries' conduct and practices. The United Nations Office Against Drugs and Crime issued a manual on special investigation methods in which it sets out certain principles in relation to their use. According to the document, such methods must be carried out in a way which shows respect for the state constitution, accords, international treaties, currently in force, laws, and other regulations. In conclusion, no organ of the state may adopt regulations or legal provisions which are incompatible with international obligations. Executive Order 389/19 has the capacity to violate internationally protected human rights, especially the right to privacy and a private life. It also violates rights recognized in the Constitution. 44, Article 48, every person has the right to have his privacy and private life respected. 49, the home is inviolable. No one may enter another person's home without the permission of the person living there, other than by express order of the relevant authority by the way of correct legal forms for reasons already defined by law. And 50, correspondence and other forms of communication between individuals are inviolable. They may only be intercepted or registered by the way of the express order of the relevant authority in all cases with reference to formalities established by law. Documents or information obtained by way of infraction of this principle may not constitute evidence in any proceeding. It's interesting because with these laws, is very disturbing. Of course, Jose Marti says the best, only oppression should fear the full exercise of freedom. And even if I recommend folks too, you read the Cuban Constitution. A good site to go to is constituteproject.org, and it has constitution for multiple countries. Very good stuff, and this time I got to look into that as well. That's where I learned about the Cuban Constitution, because even though they believe in freedom of speech and expression in a socialist society, but if you're considered a threat, they could indict you. So, but what constitutes a threat? That's the question. If you criticize the government, they could use that to say, hey, you can't say that, you're going to jail. So let's just give you some examples. And this in the Executive Order 389, very Orwellian indeed, part of the Big Brother program. So Cuba may be the next on the list of saying God bless the New World Order, right? But we're against Yankee imperialism, but we still support some of the methods of the late ungrateful J. Edgar Hoover, Adolf Hitler, and beyond. That's right. I think the Cuban people need to pay attention, are paying attention to this, and now with the embargo lifted, I told people, hey, I'm against re-closing it, even though I'm not crazy about their government, but now I got technology. It's time to use it, because a lot of stuff has been coming out little by little. Stuff is getting leaked out. And it's good. And in due time, the Cuban people can truly liberate themselves. And no factions from both sides should intervene. This right here is very dangerous. You can say very Patriot Act related. Let's give you an example. I have a feeling I don't be surprised if they could do some certain emulations. It's one of the areas we always got to pay attention to, my friends. Even the folks in this country has got to be aware. There's no such thing. I have nothing to hide. I will pull down my pants for the state, but I am a true patriot. To me, that's invalid. And the Cuban people down there, be vigilant. Things are happening, so don't give up the fight. Criticize these people. And don't worry, Jose Marti will be proud. So, demonic resistance. Cuba Libre. Alright. So, what's the next one I'm going to hit here, my friends? Oh, this one here just came out today as well from the Associated Press. Well, you know, I'm not crazy about them. It's very interesting. It says, Thai court rule on case Lincoln opposition to Illuminati. This is by Bosaba Simbo Sambun. Forgive me if I'm terrible at the Thai lingo here. And it's addressed here. Thailand's Constitutional Court says it will rule on a sedition complaint that claims a popular opposition political party is linked to the Illuminati, which conspiracy theorists say secretly seeks world domination. The complaint, filed in July by lawyer Nathraprom Torpranun, charges that the Future Forward Party seeks to overthrow Thailand's constitutional monarchy. The new party, which won the third highest number of seats in a March general election, denies the allegation. It could be dissolved if convicted. The court statement made public Sunday said no hearings would be held in the case because the court already had enough evidence. No date for its ruling was specified. Party spokeswoman Pranaka Ranich said a request for a hearing was refused, but that had sent the court documents on its defense. The opposition party has been strong irritant to Thailand's conservative establishment, led by royalists and military, who is in favor the courts have consistently ruled. The party is disliked by officialdom, not only for any military stance, but also because of its strong popularity. There's a widespread belief that the deck is stacked against it, and it will end up being disbanded, with its leaders banned from political office for several years. The July complaint listed statements by party officials critical of Thai traditions and pointed out that the logo is inverted triangle, which turned right side up resembles the alleged symbol of the Illuminati. It claimed that the Illuminati had sought to overthrow European monarchies and influence the U.S. Declaration of Independence. They claimed on that. No serious scholars give credence to the conspiracy theory, which claims that a small elite seeks to manipulate events to foment chaos and create what they call a new world order. Nathraprom alleged that the resemblance of the party's symbol to that of the Illuminati showed its hidden purpose, and when its leaders' other behavior is taken into account, it shows that they don't trust in conventional thoughts. Sonai Fasuk, a senior researcher based in Thailand for a group Human Rights Watch, said that by not holding a hearing, the court was preventing the party from mounting the proper defense. No bearing means a loss of transparency into that judicial system, he said. The Future Forward Party is already at risk of dissolution because of a separate case that had been sent to the Constitutional Court by the State Election Committee. Earlier this month, the commission ruled that the party had broken election laws by accepting a loan from its head, Dannerhorn, Janagru, Nakunik. Okay, sorry about that again. The Constitution Court ruled last month that Datendorn Dattenhorn could not keep his lawmaker's seat because he violated an election law barring owners of media companies from running his parliament. The court rejected Dattenhorn's claim that he sold his holdings in the media production company before the deadline needed to be a candidate. Police also have summoned Dattenhorn and another party leader to appear Friday to acknowledge charges against them related to demonstrate in central Bangkok. Police accused Dattenhorn and the other leader of failing to inform police about the rally in advance, blocking mass transit station, failing to control protesters, and using a megaphone without permission. Wow, talk about privileges here, huh? Can I use a megaphone today, sir? Well, that's Thailand for you, as this a monarch. Several thousand protesters showed up on December 14th to express their anger against the government and to support Dattenhorn after the Constitutional Court ruling that stripped him of his lawmaker status. Well. Interesting there, folks. There's a lot of strong allegations, and I'm just wondering if they are actually funded by someone greater, or some of the oligarchs, or hidden hand, you were going to call it. It's been going on there for a long time, too. Last time I kept talking, a good 10, 12 years, I would say, at the least. It's been going on in Thailand. Man, like I said, it's just chaos worldwide. So we have to keep tabs on this as well to see how this baby goes, because that all hell could break was in Bangkok as well. So we all got to keep tabs on it. And I haven't really read the Thailand Constitution. I admit that, but probably next time I do a show, do something like talk about this, I might have to use that as a source as well. So wow, very interesting indeed what's going on there. For sure. All right, one more here, my friends. This one came out yesterday by the Daily Sounder, and Frank G from Facebook, he put this on there, and he posted this on his page, and it says here, National Guardsman breaks rank on Dems Virginia gun control. We will not comply. This is by William Addison. As it reads, over the last few months, Virginia Democrats have worked to pass extreme gun control measures in the state. In fact, a Democratic congressman went as far as to say that the National Guard may have to be used in order to enforce the door-to-door gun grab. Talking about quartering troops, very unconstitutional on the Article 1 of their Bill of Rights. Of course, U.S. Constitution Amendment 3. My oh my, these people, man, are so I don't believe they're higher than themselves, higher than the supreme doctrine. And ultimately, I'm not the governor, but the governor may have to nationalize the National Guard to enforce the law. Representative Tom McEachen said, according to Newsweek, nationalize the National Guard? What the hell are you talking about? That his call because I don't know how serious these counties are and how severe the violation of laws will be. But that's obvious an option he has. However, one National Guardsman who opted to remain anonymous will not be going along with state's prospective gun control measures, writing direct letter to McEachen that we will not comply. Damn right. And it's funny about this because, like I said, the law is a law. These people can't read. It's like, remember, they're elected bobbleheads. Believe they're smarter than that. They're smarter than all you guys. Okay, they all think they're smarter than their constituents. As I proceed, here's a letter today from Law Enforcement Today. Mr. McEachen, have you ever heard of a little thing called Posse Comitatus Act of 1878? Apparently, you are not. Allow me to fill you in. The purpose of the act is to limit the military branches from enforcing laws against U.S. citizens. While the PCA does not prevent a governor from calling the Virginia National Guard, the law enforcement capacity of the Guard while on state active duty is full-scale enforcement of martial law when local law enforcement can no longer maintain civilian control. Are you listening, Mr. McKagan? If Governor Northam, which is his sugar daddy is Michael Bloomberg, CFR stooge himself, were to call up the National Guard, it would be through enacting martial law. Martial law is an imposition of direct military control of normal civilian functions by a government, especially in response to a temporary emergency such as an invasion or major disaster or an occupied territory. Sheriffs and police chiefs refusing to go against the Constitution to fulfill your stupid anti-gun drivel hardly constitutes a temporary emergency. If you and your fellow Constitution-hating hacks continue to push an agenda on gun banning, forfeiture, and confiscation, I can almost assure you that you might meet more than one requirement for enacting martial law. If you force local law enforcement to start violating the people's Second Amendment rights by taking their guns, you will wind up with temporary emergency due to an occupied territory. As it reads here, if the state deems that it should enact martial law because sheriffs whose only crime is standing for the Constitution, here's what it looks like. The state constitution would be suspended. So would habeas corpus and civil rights. There would be no freedom of press or assembly or speech. Curfews would be enforced on the people. Troops would be in the streets for enforcement. Checkpoints would be set for control. The guard will have the ability to hold a person without charge. Imprisonment without representation or due process. Seeing that we are talking about gun control, there would be warrantless house-to-house confiscation of firearms, ammunition, food supplies. I have no wonder if this is really what Democratic leaders in Virginia want, because what it equates is a tyrannical government using its military enforcers. And that exactly what the Second Amendment was created to protect against. If the Virginia legislators want to push this issue, it could get ugly. Oh, by the way, plan on seeing the vast majority of the Virginia National Guard become conscientious objectors. It will be really hard for them to arrest cops and confiscate guns when none of them will carry the necessary arms to enforce said arrests and confiscations. How do I know this? I am one of them, and we will be the one on the first to lay down my gun and walk away. I will not be a pawn in a tyrannical game of human chess. Neither will most of the men and women I served with. Let us know what you think of this National Guard letter to Representative Donald McKagan about not complying with Annie's 2A gun control measures. Leave a comment and be sure your vote in our daily poll. Well, I gotta say, good for them. But one thing we gotta look at, folks. I remember don't be surprised if he's gonna use bring in contractors to do the job as well. Expect that, because it has happened before, to control all these areas. But the bottom line is this: anyone that's involved can be charged with treason for levying war on the Commonwealth. And I've talked about that in my show before. And if you look into it, in the Virginia law, that minimum is 20 years in prison, because it's a class 2 felony, and minimum $100,000. They go further than that. They go way beyond the minimal threshold. So anyone involved in this scheme, from representing the Virginia government and beyond, and their lackeys and subordinates and hired guns, you can be charged for treason on a state level. So you better think about what you're doing. And to McCain and all the goofballs up there that have this tyrannical mindset, the Bill of Rights of Virginia is the supreme doctrine. no exceptions. Your used car salesman rant doesn't supersede it at all. Prove me wrong if you dare. Because remember this, we know about Article 2, Section 7 of the Commonwealth Constitution, your oath of office. That's all I have to say. Alright, my friends, I thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share throughout your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or you send something that's interesting you want to check out, whatever you do, please address your comments with decorum. Plus, I will leave the footnotes on these titles, on these subjects. You can read it for yourselves. Once again, thank you for your time. But always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading the love. May your guardian spirits be with you. And have a happy Hanukkah and Merry Christmas as well. See ya.